Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Newfound Happy Hour. My name is Sarah. And this podcast, this is the first episode of the 5th season, which is really weird. I started doing this, it's kind of a bit of a long story, but mostly to just rant about things and share my own experiences and showcase other people doing cool things. And really just a way for people to rant about things or just motivate people or inform people about something. And also my opinion as a millennial woman. At first, it was my opinion as a single millennial woman, and it's kind of evolved, which we'll really get into today. But so far, it's basically just been having guests on or just doing an episode by myself and just talking about the things that I think about, and it's been really cool. I've met people from it. We tend to talk about relationships a lot. So this past year, I started a speed dating business from this. The idea kind of stemmed from this podcast, and that took up a lot of time in 2025. So I have more of those planned in 2026 here in St. John's. A friend of mine is also doing them in Kelowna, and I'm trying to get them in other cities as well. So that's been super fun, and that's going to be probably a busy part of the year for me, but I'm sure I'll keep you updated here. And I've just connected with a lot of people because of this podcast. So it's fun. It's therapeutic. And I just get to rant about things, and I feel better when I do. And if it resonates with some people, great. If not, I feel better after I post things and get it off my chest, and then I don't have to talk about it again. So I've done episodes on my own life and my own opinions. I've done episodes just myself, just talking about my own opinions on things and whatnot. And today is just kind of a life update from me. I've done a few of these, but this is the biggest one so far, because right before Christmas, I found out that I am pregnant. And it feels weird to say that because it was not exactly planned. And even though I have a lot of friends who have had kids already, and I feel like I'm pretty informed and I'm pretty educated. And I feel like I have a good idea of what I'm in for. I don't think you really know until you actually have kids. But even so, I'm learning a lot of things just by going through it myself. So I'm going to be sharing everything and all the things that I learn and all the experiences. And my hope is that it is relatable, or it's informative for people who may go through the same things. Or even when there was a time where I thought that I might not have kids, and I still was very interested in birth and parenting, and I've always coached kids. I used to nanny. I am very passionate about being a good parent, even if there were some points where I thought I might not do that myself. And before I get too far into anything, I do want to say that I know that fertility issues are rampant. There's so many people who go through fertility issues and struggles, and I can only imagine the stuff that some people go through. I have friends who have done IVF. I have friends who've done IUI. I have friends who've done, all the things to try and conceive, friends who have had miscarriages. I even did an episode with a friend a couple seasons ago on pregnancy loss and termination, and you can go back and check that out because that was a very informative episode. But for someone who, I guess trigger warning that I am going to be talking about an unplanned pregnancy. And for someone who did not plan this, kind of saw my life going two ways of having kids and not. I am so stressed out and I'm so worried, and I can only imagine the stress and worry and frustration that one must feel when they're trying to get pregnant and then you're just waiting to get through a healthy pregnancy. We're lucky in that way that it's not something that we have struggled with yet. I'm only 7 weeks, so I am fully aware, I am painfully aware of the risks, and I could lose it at any second. But I'm trying to be excited through it all. So this is going to be just me ranting, I guess, for an hour about how this came to be and my initial thoughts on it. Something else I want to say before is that I don't think that having kids is the be-all, end-all. I don't think it is everything in life. I don't think people are not whole without them. I think you can have a healthy, happy, fulfilling life without kids. Some people probably have more fulfilling lives without kids than some people do with them. So that is something that I've also been painfully aware of. And I'm really happy I have so many friends who have kids and who have done this before me. And sometimes society and boomers, sorry to the boomers, but like they can make you feel like your life won't amount to anything or like you have to have kids. And I don't think you do. Like I said, I could see my life going two different ways. I was single for most of my 20s and I just could not picture trusting a man with my baby. I'll get into that. But I learned that you don't need a partner to have a fulfilling life and you don't need kids to have a fulfilling life. And I don't think that your partner and your kids should be your whole entire universe. I think that people are multifaceted and you can be a parent and you can do a lot of other things and be different things to different people. And that was kind of one of my fears with becoming a parent is I really didn't want to lose myself. I don't want to lose myself. So, yeah. So up until now, like I said, I didn't think I was ever going to have kids with anyone. I kind of toyed around with the idea of like, if I really want it, I'll just be a single mom by choice. I know like of people who've done that. And if I really wanted it, I would do that. But as time went on, I was like, I am not doing this without a good partner because I will be a good partner and a good parent. And I expect my partner to be equal in that regard. I think a lot of what scared me was like our parents and like grandmothers and all that they had to give up to be like the sole household runner. Maybe not the breadwinner, but you know, that's like a full-time job, raising kids and keeping a home. So I just never wanted to be that. And then I think a lot of like boomer parents, a lot of the women were like, I can work, I can have my own money, I can do whatever. But they were still kind of like, if you weren't married and having kids, it was like, what's wrong with you kind of thing. I know mom like had me when she was 30 and she thought that she was so late and so behind. And like now people aren't having kids until after 30 for the most part. So I just didn't want to wake up every day and like go to work, feed kids, do homework, go to bed. Like I need to have more of a life than that. And so that was a big factor in like deciding if I wanted to ever have kids. Like even before I met Bruce, I was like, do I even want to live that way? And I've been really happy up until now. So I was like, I think I'm good. But I do have so many friends who have great partners. And I have so many friends who are like great parents as a whole, as a unit. And the women are not responsible for like all the cooking and cleaning and childminding. And like their husbands don't come home and expect dinner on the table and they're just gonna like fuck off for the night. So the good relationships, I was like, okay, like I would want it if it was a relationship like that. And then I met Bruce, and the first thing that I noticed about him was that he was a good dad. And that had me pretty down bad, actually. Like listening to him on the phone with his kid. And just like the fact that he knew when tutoring was. He knows when to pack a lunch. He knows when hockey practice is. He does laundry and dishes and cleans. And like he was a single dad, so like he has his son half the time. And the fact that he did not have a woman or his mother telling him what to do was the hottest thing ever to me. And, you know, I obviously like fell for him pretty quickly, and that had a big, like, that had a lot to do with it. So pretty early on, I knew like, I knew what kind of dad he was. And I always said like, I always said that I would never trust a man with my baby. But after a couple of months of knowing him, I was like, I would trust that man with my baby. So that was like pretty crazy to like experience and be like, huh, I could have a kid with him someday down the road. My plan was someday down the road. But when we first met, I was in the very early process of building a house. My house had an apartment in half of the basement because I intended on being single forever. And I was going to have an apartment in the basement to like rent out and help me make extra money. And once we actually started building, I was like, this man's going to live with me. And like we talked a lot about our future and everything. And like we have such a great relationship. We don't argue. We don't like have any issues. I mean, everyone has their like annoyances with each other, but like overall, we just work so well. And we talked about like getting married pretty early. We not getting married early, but like early on, we talked about getting married and what we wanted. And it became apparent pretty quickly that like that was our plan, and he was going to move in and he's going to sell his house and we'll move in together and that will be our home. So I scrapped the idea for the apartment before we actually started building, or as we started building, really. And we talked a lot about our plans, even though he's like, you don't need to plan these things so far in advance. But like the next few years, I already have weddings and like a lot of my friends, you know, have plans and trips and like I said, weddings. So we originally planned to get married in 2027. And I was like, you can just propose whenever. This is cool. And so we agreed on this. And he was like, yep. Don't care where we get married. Don't care what we do. Just want to marry you, whatever. So we just had a loose plan of like 2027, probably late 2027. And I had done an episode or two actually on like getting off of birth control, which I did 2 years ago, mostly for my health and just to like get my body more in sync and whatever, and like make sure that nothing was wrong that I had been masking for the 10 years I was on birth control. So I just wanted to like take control of my health a little bit more. And I had a tracking app. Some of you may be wondering, Sarah, you had that tracking app. How did this happen? And I will say that I am very busy in the fall because I'm a customer service manager and we go into the office a lot around that time. Black Friday is a crazy time. We had our Christmas party, Bruce had his Christmas party right after Black Friday. So that whole week was just a whirlwind. I was not checking my app. In my mind, I was out of the danger zone, which is usually like 5 days before you ovulate. And I thought I was before that 5 days. We were on the 5th day. And sometimes stuff happens. And I didn't realize until like 2 days later that we were in the danger zone. And that's all I'll really say about that. But it was 5 days before I ovulated. And I was like, the chances are so low. I have all these friends who are like trying for months and months. We see all these people doing IVF and like really struggling with trying to conceive. And I'm looking it up and it's like, yeah, your chances are 10% 5 days before. So I was really not worried. I had never been pregnant before, so I was almost thinking that like I probably would have trouble. So I just convinced myself like this is not happening. Too far before, the chances are too low. Whatever. But it was in the back of my mind and Bruce was like, you know, we should probably test at some point. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So I tested and I filmed a video and I'm like looking at the test and I'm like, yeah, there's nothing there. We're good. Whew, thank God we're good. And that was 9 days after ovulating. And I saw online that all these people who are like trying, they'll test every day after ovulation. And day 8, 9, 10, like they're getting these lines. And so I was like, I'm good. I was not good. So then like 3 days go by. I don't know if it was like the day of my period, but anyway, it was supposed to be. And I took a test and there was like a very faint line. And I'm looking back at my pictures and I'm like deleting pictures from my phone. And I see the original picture that I took when I took that first test and the first video. And I posted on my fake Instagram being like, ha, friends, dodged a bullet. And I looked at that picture and I was like, there's something there. There's a line there. And I like play around with the settings a bit and there's a very, very faint line. And the second one that I took a couple days later, there was a very, very faint line. So I take another one the next day. Still a faint line, but it's there. But I'm still in denial. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's probably just showing up because, like, that line is built into the test. I was in denial. I was fully in denial, but I knew. And I was like, we'll just go and get, like, a digital test tomorrow. And Bruce is like, let's go get one right now. Like, let's go right now. So anyway, I was, like, about to go into the office. And I took this test. And it's like, yeah, 1 to 2 weeks. And we took it together. I was like, I don't know if you want to, like, be here. So he was like, yeah, no, let's just, like, stand here and look at it. And we're staring at it. And that's the longest 3 minutes of your life. Anyone who has taken one of those tests knows. And I was reading the instructions and he noticed that it came up on the test and he just, like, slapped me and was like, oh my God. And we just started laughing and crying and hugging and crying and laughing and crying and laughing. And we just didn't say anything for a good 5 minutes. It's a bit of a shock. Like, I always thought I would knew how I would react, but you don't. You really don't until it's actually happening. And then it's kind of, like, surreal. And it takes a minute to, like, really set in. So after that, this is like December 18th. I have a girls' night the next night. I have a cocktail night. I have Tibbs Eve. I have Christmas Eve. I have Christmas Day, all of which I have plans to drink with people. New Year's Eve, same thing. And I was still, like, processing myself when I went to this girls' cocktail night. I was like, I'm just going to drink my vodka sodas and, like, I'm just so bloated. I don't want to drink the sugary cocktails. Like, I'm good. And they were like, well, we just made this one. Like, have this one. I can't say no. A friend of mine was like, why don't you say that, like, you're on antibiotics and, like, you're just, like, not feeling good? I'm sorry. To anyone who's ever known me, I've never not drank on antibiotics. Most of the time, if I'm not feeling great, I have a drink. And, like, I don't mean that in an alcoholic kind of way. I just mean, like, if I was about to go out, and, like, I'm feeling a little bit tired or, like, a little bit headachy, a drink usually perks me up. I only drink in social situations. I do not drink on my own. I do not drink, like, casually. I am only a social drinker. I think that's important to note. But social drinker I am. And there's nothing that would be an excuse that would make sense to my friends for me to not have a drink. So I was like, I'm going to pretend to drink this drink. I put it up to my mouth. I didn't drink it. I was pretending to drink it. And then I would go to the bathroom every so often and pour a little bit out. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for wasting that one cocktail. But I had to do what I had to do. And I wasn't ready to tell, like, 10 women yet at the one time when I was still processing. So that night I got through. I went to Georgetown Pub. I was drinking soda water and no one really noticed. No one noticed. They noticed that I left at like it was before 1 a.m. and I was like, I'm going to go home. And everyone was like, that's weird for you. I was like, yeah, I'm just so tired. And I've been doing a lot with the house. Like, we've been at the house so often, pretty much all of our free time. A lot of our free time this year was just doing stuff with the house. So I was like, I have to go insulate tomorrow, which was true. I did. But yeah, so made it through the first night. And then Christmas was actually kind of slow. Like, we did have a lot of family stuff on the go. And I had to tell a friend, Tibbs Eve. I told my friend Jess, and I was like, I need to tell you because we always, like, buy rounds whenever we're out. Like, people will take turns buying around. And I'm like, I can't. One, I don't want people to waste their money. But two, like, I just, like, don't know what to do. So I was like, can you just, like, keep buying me drinks whenever you buy one? Just like a soda water. And I'll buy my own. And, like, between that, no one else will try and buy me a drink. And that worked. So that was good. But I left downtown. It was probably 1:30 or 1:45, and I was dead sober. It was very interesting being at the Rock House, dead sober. Great time. Still had a great time. I have gone downtown and, like, gone out many times not drinking. I used to work downtown, and, like, it was not an odd thing to, like, go out after work and not have a drink and drive home because I lived in Torbay. So, like, I can have fun anywhere. And actually, I will say that this Christmas season of pretending to drink just really reinforced to me that, like, I'm actually a fun person. And I don't need alcohol to have fun or to stay up. It's a little bit different now because the first trimester has hit me and I am tired all the time. But these first few weeks, when I was only, like, 4 weeks, I was only, like, 4 weeks pregnant, I was still living normally. aside from not drinking. So yeah, made it through Tibbs Eve. I drove home. And at that point, like, I hadn't really had many symptoms. I think I'll probably do an episode on like the whole first trimester symptom wise in the coming weeks. I'm only 7 weeks as I film this, so yeah, I think I'll talk about all of that. But after that, Christmas Eve, we hosted both our families and some friends and whatnot. And I made this punch, and I was like, everyone can just throw their alcohol in it, or for the kids, they can just drink it because it's just juice. So I was just drinking that, pretending that I had alcohol in it. And I got some non-alcoholic wine. Wasn't too bad. Doesn't hit the same, obviously. And it's kind of sickening, so I only had like a glass of that, but no one noticed. And then Christmas Day, me and Bruce's mom had plans to drink together because that's like her day to drink, and Bruce usually takes the day before. So that was our plan, and I was like, how am I going to hide this? So I just said I was really hungover from the night before and I couldn't stomach it, and she believed me. Everyone believed me, and no one really noticed. So it was good. I managed to get through all the holidays without it, and now that I'm saying this, everyone's probably like, oh, it makes sense. And then New Year's Eve came, and I was really feeling the tiredness at this point and the fatigue. And not overly sickish, but, there's some things that happen in the first trimester that I'll get into another time. But I told two of my friends New Year's Eve because, again, like, they would just know if something's up. So I told three of them that night. And that was much better because anytime someone offered me a drink, they would kind of like be like, oh, I got this one for you. Or like if they were doing shots, I'd kind of just walk away and they'd be like, oh, like she has a bad belly, she doesn't want one. So that worked. And we were home in bed by like 12:20 on New Year's Eve. So anyway, New Year's Day, I was exactly 6 weeks, and the whole process has started. Everything's good so far. I'm going to go into like all the different appointments and like all the things that I'm learning, all the symptoms. I'll go through all that and kind of document this journey. I know it's so early. Like I said, I am very much aware of the fact that this could not go well. And I have friends who work in labor and delivery. I've heard all the horror stories, and, you know, people tell you not to announce too early and whatever. And I don't know when we'll announce. But I'm filming these, you know, before I actually post them, obviously. So I'm sure after we announce is when I'll start posting these episodes. And yeah, I'm excited for the journey, but I'm sure I'll be talking about a lot of the emotional aspects of it. I've always talked about my life on this podcast, and I always talk about things that like I think a lot about, or things that encompass a lot of my time. This is going to encompass a lot of my time for the rest of my life. I really want to still prioritize myself and my own mental well-being and myself as an individual. I know that will probably be hard at times, but like, I don't want my only identity to be a mom. That will probably be the most important part of my life, obviously. But I don't believe that you can be a good parent if you yourself are like stressed and frustrated and hating your life. That is not going to trickle down well into your kids' lives. And I always had this fear that like my life would be over when I become a parent, and that's kind of why I prolonged it a little bit. I thought that like my life would be over. And in a lot of ways it is. But in having a healthy relationship and like getting to this stage of life, I'm so happy that I waited this long. I'm so happy at like how my life is turning out. I'm so happy that we're excited, that our families are excited, that it's not a stressful thing. It's an exciting thing. And before this happened, I knew that like there were things that I needed to be comfortable being a parent and a mom. And I feel like I have all those things. I feel like I have the supports in place. I feel like I have a competent partner. And I'm realizing that we don't have to parent the way our parents did or our grandparents did or the way other people do. In the same way that like I don't have to work or work out or spend my free time the same way that other people do. You can really parent the way you want to. So I'm excited to like go on that journey and see what becomes of it. But I also am aware that like I have such a privilege that we both have supportive families. We are both financially secure. We are both like, we're building a house that's going to be done long before the baby is here. We're just so lucky that like everything worked out. And of course, like you're never really going to be ready. I don't think that's what some of my friends have told me upon me telling them and like voicing my opinions about it all. But, you make it work. And I think a lot of people may not feel ready, but they're in a place where they're able to get it together. And some people might not be able to get it together, and they probably don't get it together until their kid is a little bit older. I don't know. But I coached for like over 10 years. I nannied for a while. I've babysat. I have a lot of kids in my life and friends who are parents. And like, I know what is important when it comes to raising kids. I also know that it's not easy. I think a lot of people think that a baby will fix a relationship or that kids are cute. They're not cute for that long. And then they're also not cute for not that long. Like you only have a baby for a couple of years. You only have a toddler for a couple of years. I did an episode with my best friend, however many seasons ago. I did like 3 different motherhood episodes and just like got all of their opinions on the different stages of motherhood that they were in. And she was like, if you don't like babies and you don't love kids, like you'll love your own, and they aren't like that forever. Even the teenager phase doesn't last forever. Mostly what you'll get is your kids as an adult, and like no one thinks about that when they have a baby. Like you're just thinking about the baby stage, but like this person is with you for the rest of your life. So yeah, I just want to say that like we are very privileged, but even though we're privileged, like we could fully take this and not do a good job. I know that both of us will like prioritize our kids' physical and mental and educational and like complete well-being. That will be the first priority. I think that some people only focus on like sports or like the personality of your child or only education, and you need to care about it all. I've seen what it can do when people don't care about it all. And in my opinion, it's like neglect when you like neglect a part of your child's growth and well-being. And I also think that like bad parenting is the root of a lot of issues in society. People, grow up certain ways because of how they're raised, and that leads them into bad relationships, and it's just a bad cycle. So I'm thankful for the privileged position that we are in, but I'm also like proud of the people that we are. And I'm just so happy that this is an exciting thing. So anyway, I'm going to document all of this, all of my feelings, all the things. I know there's so many moms out there. You always see parents posting and asking for support and advice and all the things. And so hopefully me sharing this will be a source of relatability or like motivation or even just entertainment. I don't know. I always used to watch like birth vlogs and stuff like that. Like I just find it all so interesting, and it's been a really exciting few weeks, and I'm trying to stay excited. I'm trying to stay present. I'm trying not to worry too much. But overall, it's just excitement. And the one thing that I have learned is that it's a waiting game. You have to wait until a certain ultrasound. You have to wait until a certain appointment. You have to wait until the anatomy scan, and you have to wait to get blood results back for the gender and all the things. And you can only really do one step at a time, and you can plan for all the things, but it's so unpredictable. Pregnancy is so unpredictable, and raising kids is so unpredictable. So it's a good crash course in patience and how to cope with worrying in these first few weeks specifically. So stay tuned for next time. I'm still going to be doing my regular episodes. I do have plans for guests and everything, but probably every second episode or every couple episodes in between, I will be documenting my journey and progress and feelings. And maybe I'll have some mom friends on, or maybe some like healthcare professionals. Like I said, I am learning a lot. And there's a lot that I'm sure a lot of us don't know until you actually go through it. And even then, some people are still misinformed. So stay tuned. Happy New Year. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.